Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And this is Cultus Vegetabilis by Manly P. Hall, an article taken from The All-Seeing Eye, Volume 5, Number 10, July 1931. Cultus Vegetabilis by Manly P. Hall. It is not the purpose of this article to depreciate any intelligent consideration of the problem of diet, but rather to remind the average individual that he lives so badly it is hardly necessary for him to live longer than a span of moderation will permit. With all his intemperances, man generally succeeds in outliving his usefulness. Why should he struggle so for added years only to waste them? Life is not really important unless it is lived intelligently. Philosophers do not care how long they live. Their prime concern is how well they can live. Longevity is a curse, except to the wise. This does not mean we should strive to hasten our own decease, but that living moderately in all things we should fill the years with useful deeds and face dissolution with a good hope. We should all strive to be healthy, for bodily ailments divert the mind from the cultivation of reason to the contemplation of corporeal indisposition. Few can ignore the irritations of the flesh, but then again, a healthy man is not one who, possessing only a superabundance of animal vitality, frisks about on his vita minds. A healthy man is one who is free from mental and spiritual disease. In other words, one who is comfortable as the result of a healthy coordination of his parts. Normalcy is absolutely indispensable to health, and he who departs from normal things departs from God and reason. About 1/3 of what a man eats lengthens his life and contributes to his well-being. The other 2/3 shortens his days and destroys peace of mind and body. We all eat not wisely, but too much. The American people are an amazing order of gastronomes who, like the Lacedaemonians described by Diogenes, build their houses as though they would live forever and eat as though they would die tomorrow and never have another chance. Nor is it entirely what we eat. The way we eat it is also important. Haste is the enemy of all temperance. If we must eat, and we shall probably have to unless science amends an act of providence, we should eat leisurely, comfortably, and joyously. A man is what he eats, solemnly declares the enthusiast, quoting his favorite authority in the same final tone that his grandfather used when quoting from Ecclesiastes. This is not literally true, for the process of assimilation is not only physical but also metaphysical. The individuality of food is destroyed before it is actually incorporated into the system. If this were not true, inveterate asparagus eaters might burst into fern. Take, for example, the cow. This gentle bovine should be the dietitian's delight. Here we have a perfect example of thorough mastication and the monodiet carried to the last legitimate extremity. If normal eating were the prime requisite of perfection and the royal road to nirvana, cows would be at least archangels. Alfalfa and tall, luscious grasses, bits of fragrant clover, and occasionally even a more fragrant wild onion have made that cow what it is today, if certain of our leading authorities on health are to be believed. But what human creature, sitting down to a plate heaped up with miscellaneous herbage, really desires to have this miracle worked on him and spend the rest of his life combating a tendency to flick flies or chew cuds? If what a being eats really is the measure of its personality and activity, a diet would be very hard to choose, for there is really nothing that a man eats which he would actually like to become. Although some do seemingly take on appearances, an animal is valued for its weight or strength, but a man for the quality of his reason. It is quite astonishing how many specialists die of the very disease which they have made their life study. It seems that repeated thinking brings into actual objectivity the substance of that thought. By the same rule, we discover that a great number of diet faddists suffer from stomach and intestinal troubles. The stomach seems to be a shy and retiring organ. It is patient under abuse, but when given too much publicity and attention, becomes so embarrassed that it cannot function properly. A life spent counting calories is a life utterly wasted because, like the other things of this world which men prize, calories are impermanent and pass away. Follow a few simple laws of eating with which everyone is familiar but which all alike disregard, and realizing that the body was designed to bear a certain burden of abuse, devote time and energy to the achievement of greater and more permanent good. Almost every year evangelists come preaching some new excess. In the old days, these prophets completely upset our emotional nature with their promises of heaven and fears of hell. We broke into a cold sweat and were baptized amidst the loud amens and hallelujahs of a congregation who were all excited but had no idea of what it was about. When the sawdust trail business began to wane, the great psychological circus began, and our mental equilibrium was all upset by the dreadful realization that we were a bundle of undiagnosed complexes which could not be remedied until our favorite psychologist had vaccinated our subconscious mind. After the psychologist became real estate and oil salesman, the country had a pretty bad attack of yogiitis, which, like the Mediterranean fruit fly, was an imported dilemma. We syncopated our breathing and sat around bundled up in blankets, attempting the difficult experiment of looking at the navel with one eye and the pineal gland with the other, at the same time thinking intently about nothing. The same types of people who went hysterical over the metaphysicians, psychologists and yogis of past years are coming out now with a new hysteria diet. They have re-hemmed their frayed nerves and, ready to be fooled again, listen with open-mouthed wonder to some picture of life and vitality as he instructs them how to eat their way to happiness, prosperity and centenarianism. The evangelist of longevity arrives right behind several truckloads of garden stuff. The Greeks, Sicilians, Italians, Koreans, Japanese and other members of our 100% American farming class dump their prudence and proclaim a national holiday. The decorators then get busy, and soon the front of the lecture hall where the apostle to the gourmands is to speak is artistically festooned with strings of cabbages, clusters of onions, bouquets of radishes and bunches of honest carrots. There will also be photographs of the speaker lifting high with one hand a festive squash, while with the other he holds out invitingly a package of his favorite laxative. He will also have placards circulated among the greengrocers advising humanity in general to eat more broccoli as a remedy for the present financial depression. The day that the spinach is draped about the pillars and arches of the auditorium, it is a verdant if unusual decoration. The second day, however, there is a depressed and wilted look, and by the third day the deterioration is simply terrible. To even behold the exhibition destroys one's appetite for a fortnight. When finally the janitor untwines the wreckage, it is painfully evident that dietitians should use wax or crepe paper vegetables for display purposes. At last comes the big night when demon starch is to receive his death blow, when all the ills of mankind are to be swept away with a bunch of celery. The house is packed with apparently healthy people who will never know how sick they are until the professor gets through telling them. The prophet of food values appears and welcomes his vast audience with a cheery, "How are you eliminating?" His first task is to sell himself, to prove that all that he is he owes to a mixture of rhubarb and sorghum. He takes off his coat, then his vest, and threatens to remove his shirt in order that his muscular development may duly impress the assemblage. He runs up and down, climbs up onto the reader's desk, swings back and forth by the plush drapery, kneels like Al Jolson singing Mammy, pleading all the while for men to leave their pills and ills and follow him down the garlic-strewn path to success. He pounds his own chest and tells them that he is 90 years old, born in 1895, that he has never been sick a day in his life, and that no one need ever ail again if they will but now, here, this very moment, buy a little package of nature's own favorite physic for the ridiculously low price of $1. If business does not start immediately, our revivalist depicts graphically the mysteries of our intestinal tract, warning us that at that very moment we are dying and don't know it. And very soon the line forms on the right. While the little boxes of immortality are being distributed, arrangements are made for the big class that is to follow, where all the mysteries of life will be explained and from which you will emerge almost too wise to remain on this planet. In summarizing the health platform, we would like to describe a symposium given by the health expert in which the lame, the halt, and the blind brought their own lunches at his direction and ate them under his supervision. The words of the janitor who cleaned the hall the following day are most eloquent. "Yes, sir, if that wasn't the worst mess I've seen in 25 years of cleaning out buildings, I like to never got the dirt out. What they didn't eat, they threw on the floor and walked on. And will you believe it? They were serving out raw flour, mixing it up with garlic and honey and eating it. Most of the flour and no small amount of the honey was on them carpets too, I mean to tell you. The worst bunch of nuts I ever seen. If I had to eat stuff like that, death would be a pleasure." leaving the janitor to moan over the general deterioration of mankind, we will conclude our remarks by simply restating the original premise. Hysterical dieting is just as dangerous as any other form of hysteria, and stomacholatry is a dangerous form of religion. The good book was not far wrong when it declared that that which cometh out of the mouth defileth a man much more than that which goeth in. Eat moderately, think creatively, and work hard. These are the secrets of health. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.